Again, people, I am trying my hand at this beautiful. I think we can only do one at a time.
Okay. All right.
So this week we're trying YouTube.
Oh my
Again,
gosh,
people, I am
that is weird, people.
all right. So, anyways, what we have here this week is I actually had to double check and make sure Skip sent out the email. Because
Thank you. Thank you. Send out the right email.
you never know. But my notes on what to talk about are in the email, so I don't like to. I don't like to have two things going. So,
Yep.
all right, now that I'm live streaming to YouTube and I've got my notes up and going, we can actually start the recording. So, and I also decided I'm going to do espresso during this meeting because I am so tired. We had teenagers running in and out of our house all night last night for some amazing race thing. I made them eat 10-year-old duck eggs, stand in hot tubs. It was a great time.
Oh, wow.
I'm tired.
Wow.
So, this week we're talking about something called strategy meets budgets, and we hammered on this last week about first person with their hand out is the first person to get paid, and just having that cliche phrase in your head. So now, like, the question is, how do you get your hand out there that doesn't get bit? Because you put your hand out like, hey, give me money. Like, why? In fact, online, I'm starting to get into some of these Facebook MSP groups, and I'm there just to give advice. I'm not trying to like sell our services and say, hey, buy our product. I'm just trying to. I used to be really big into forums and communities back in the days when you actually had real forums and communities. Now it's Facebook, and you've got Facebook chat and Facebook things going on.
Discord.
What we want to do is, I'd like to get back into giving out that advice again. And so I've been seeing a lot of conversations around why aren't you selling in meetings? Like, why do your meetings suck? Why aren't your clients even responding to meeting requests? And I feel bad because I've been doing this for 5 years and I have not been in the Facebook groups. I've been in the LinkedIn groups. I've been in like forums, but these groups are really active, and this is a very big concern for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, the answer is simple, but what I see out there is everybody's trying to sell their tool. Everybody's trying to sell like, hey, buy our product and you'll do this really well. Now,
Your
I will
sales
say,
tool.
yes,
Yeah.
buy my product and you'll do it really well for really cheap. But that's beside the point. You don't need to buy a product. I'm here to tell you the dirty secret. You can have a great budget meeting with just yourself, a box of donuts, and your client.
Absolutely.
And you can sell a $10,000 project if you care about the person who's sitting across the table from you.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people this all the time, and I show my age when I make my joke here, but the Humanized IT framework is just that. It's a framework. If you want to sit down with a big chief tablet and a number 2 pencil, you can get all of this done. That was my old joke. So just anyway, whatever. So really old. So the idea and the concept, I think our tool is great too. We really empower the concept so it goes easier, faster, scalability, all that kind of good stuff. But what we're talking about here is really how these conversations need to work fundamentally, not practically, not operationally, fundamentally. How do these conversations need to be conducted with your clients? And this idea that you switch this around. I was in a member meeting earlier this week, and he said something interesting, and I really appreciate where he's coming from. They take our roadmap widget in a tool, and one of the great things about it is that you can get those things out there. You click the plus, and you get a little blue box and a time slot. And I love that feature because it sets expectations. All right, there's a value there to put the cost of the project in there. But I always tell everybody, you don't even have to fill in that cost. Just get this on the roadmap, set expectations with your clients, adjust the schedules. It's very forward-looking. It's very functional in that aspect. And he said something interesting. He said, we never put the dollar amount in those little blue boxes. He said, we have found, because we use this widget in almost exclusively executive sort of conversations, he says when we bring dollars into that, they feel like we're selling. And we really want to be coming at them from a perspective of, hey, here's the things we're helping you do, and here's the scheduling and the timing, and where we think these things will happen. And they get a lot of success out of doing that. And they've actually removed the dollar conversation altogether.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great take on how they're using the tool.
And that's perfect, because you want the client to ask, okay, so how much is this going to cost?
Yes.
And they'll get there.
Yeah, they will.
You have your own selling process. And one of the things about budgets and strategy is that there is a spot between conversing with your client and selling them. And that's what Skip is talking about here, is that you're talking about what is this project going to do? And that is super important. A lot of you go straight from, you need a firewall, here's how much it costs. You're skipping that interim spot, that situation where you say, hey, this is the journey we're taking you on. Here's what's going to be the result of the journey. Here's why we're going to take you here. Once we do this, your employees are going to be able to work from home. You're going to be able to live stream at a higher rate. That problem with you guys watching the pro golf tour and it taking up all your internet, that's going to go away. And all these things are going to happen. And we can do this in October. And then the client goes, that sounds amazing. So what you've done is you said, I'm going to improve your business. And your clients will like, how much is it going to cost to get there? And then you move to that next step of saying, it's going to be in the ballpark of, $8,000. It depends on which deals FortiGate's running this next month.
Yeah.
What's the end of quarter sales? So we're going to try really hard to get you one of those end of quarter deals, but they haven't released them yet. So let me get you a ballpark. If you are committed to this project, if you think that that's going to be about right, that's okay. I'll send this over to quoting department and they'll work on that and give you back a firm number. But what I want to know is, are these the right outcomes that you want? And so you're talking about strategy-based budgeting. And that's great, because you can also say strategy-based budgeting is another thing, which is what most people sell you on because it's really easy to automate. And so some people see strategy-based budgeting as, hey, here is the trend for costs over the next 3 years. Here's the increase over time. Here's where you're going to do things. And by the way, we're releasing a tool here in the next week that's going to do all that for you. But it's not a core functionality of the conversation. It's just by the way, here's how you can view your costs.
Yes.
The core part of the conversation is that project roadmap, is saying, hey, here is the journey I'm taking you on. Here's when we can get this done, and here's how you're going to benefit from it. Then you could talk about costs once the client asks you, and that's strategic budgeting. But going in and saying, you're going to buy this many PCs in August, and in August of 2023, you're going to buy this many PCs, and in September, you're going to buy this many. Technically, that's strategy.
Yeah.
But it's technical.
Yeah, it's technical, and that's the deal. And understanding where you're going to go, what's the value in it. So, corporate story here, and it was really, this one was kind of funny. So we're upgrading the corporate main internet connection. And this is probably mid-ish 2000s, early 2000s. So we're in kind of that really big transitional phase where people are switching over from, leased circuits to actual, full WAN connections. And we're kind of trying to make the decision. All right. So we've got a sweet deal on bonding a bunch of stuff together, or we can just kind of take the leap and go, and buy the big pipe. And we decided to buy the big pipe. All right. That wasn't a hard sell for us. But as we're moving this up through the chain, we get to the CIO of the company. All right. And so he's ultimately responsible for this cost. And he's like, why do we really do this? Because he's a technical guy too. So he's looking at all the numbers and he's looking at the burst rates that we hitting. And he's going, I think we could probably get by on the cheaper route. But why are you guys really leading to this one? You see some growth, and the deal breaker here we were talking about this in January for early implementation in February, and we were running against a March deadline. All right. Now, some of you guys out there, your brains have already gone here because you're thinking March Madness. And that is exactly what sold the bigger internet connection, was when we told the CIO, hey, if we do this, when everyone hits all these live streams, and because that was just a thing just starting to come out, everyone's starting to hit videos about March Madness, we're going to be able to handle the load. And so we sold a big internet connection so the company, a corporate 500 oil and gas company, could watch March Madness.
I was working for a large $1 billion company as well, and the same exact thing happened, but it was the Masters.
The Masters, yes, yeah.
And they had just, I think that was the first year they came out with the HD casting of it.
Yep.
And so we're sitting there, and somebody had the bright idea of setting up a live stream server in the corporate CEO's office. And so all the execs are watching it on their desktops off to the side, and our internet is coming to a standstill. We've got a massive pipe, guys. I mean, 10 gigs of going across our data centers. We have the cream de cream, except for our external pipe was just okay. And that project that we had on the table got fast tracked. We did that entire thing in a week. And so
no budget restrictions, whatever you need, just make it happen. Yes.
It's done. And so when you're proposing a budget, when you're creating a proposal, take those solutions that we've been telling you to write down all this year. You did your infrastructure assessment. You did your services assessment. You did your risk assessment. And now you're creating these proposals. And in each of the recommendations you have, you're going to say, this is solving this problem.
Yep.
And if you can say something like March Madness is going to stream really well, because you know that the person across the table is a huge fan, and they have a bracket every year. You know that the company has their what's that called when you have the brackets and you bet on like
the pool.
Yeah,
the betting pool.
That's going to happen every year. Yeah. That's you've got them, and you're going to have that. And that's a strategic move because you're solving a business situation. Now, if you tell them how many assets they're going to replace and how much things are going to cost over time, that's great. The CFO will thank you and they'll put that in their back pocket. But if you tell them that strategically these projects are going to improve X, Y, and Z, that's how you sell a budget. Emotional call. Right now in the United States, if you're I know there's international people here, but in the United States, people love their cars. They will buy a car because it is a status symbol. A car they cannot afford. You'll see one person bulk is spending $1,000 on a bed they spend 8 hours a night in. And then they'll go out and spend 25 grand on a car they drive for 5 minutes a day. Why? Because the emotional buy is there. And it's nice to have a car. You don't want it to break down, do you? But if you really do the math, if you're like Adam, I will drive a car into the ground. Like I will do the math like, okay, it costs me about $200 a month on average to fix this thing every time it breaks. Still cheaper than a car payment. That's me. But your clients are in that same mindset. You have to sell them on the emotion of this project. And you do that by creating a strategy that takes them on a hero's journey. And that's how you create a proposal for a budget. So if you go into the tool, I missed my buttons, Skip. I missed my buttons. There we go. If you go into the tool, you'll see like an asset management thing. So if you have this in ConnectWise, use it in ConnectWise. I'm just using our tool as an example here. So you come in and you grab the assets that are going to improve this project.
Now, quick pause.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, this module is in all of your portals. You have access to, you've always had access to the asset module. It's been updated. I know a lot of you don't click on that. So log in, click the button. It's there. You get the new stuff.
You're ruining the Easter eggs, Skip. I mean, we got to keep them guessing which modules have been updated.
Oh, okay. I get it. All right. Never mind.
So for those of you who have run software companies or been in software, like we're in a heavy dev cycle, and I really mean that, is we're going to be pushing out a lot of really cool updates. Anything in blue is new. Yeah. That's and meant to be talked about with your clients. So keep clicking around the software. You're going to see things change rapidly. What I really am waiting for is the little spinny circle right here that everybody's going to see. That is a massive deal. from a developer standpoint. That is our new containerized back end that synchronizes with the ConnectWise Invent program. That will be coming up in the very next release. Anyways, enough about our product. This is really cool. So you're looking in here and you see, like you filter down, you say, hey, I just want to know all things that I'm going to replace this next month. So, you know, we're in 2022, let's say by October. Okay, so anything that has a depreciation date of before October of 2022. Oops, I messed it up. Oh, October. Come on, Adam, you can do this. Let's say end of October. We're gonna be silly here. All right. So anything that's depreciated before October of 2022. And I've created this narrative. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm at my desk. I haven't met with the client yet. And I look down here and say, they need to replace all these. What are they gonna replace? The SAN, they're gonna replace the laptop, and then they're gonna replace the Cisco ACS. Do people still run ACS? Is that still a thing? Anyways, we're gonna replace all these. So that's how old I am, Skip. I'm starting to doubt whether or not the things I used to know still exist. I'm sure
ACS, isn't that just radius?
So anyways, I've got this going here, right? And the whole point is I am trying to, and this all is part of, we're going to make believe, this is a part of a project to upgrade the video storage service for the sales department. And so we have the wireless controller needs to be updated. We have the storage is filling up fast. And we know that we're coming up on college football season. So people are using this device to store the latest college football game. So if you're 15 minutes late, you can just evo it, whatever. Or maybe you're storing sales meetings so that you can review them with people later for training. Whatever the purpose is, you need to create a narrative. So creating a narrative here that says, this is going to be all the storage stuff for the sales department. So what I want to do is I want to attach this to a project. So I'm going to find one of my projects that I've been talking about for this last year. I'm going to say, hey, as part of this project, let's do, the one place for shared files.
Yeah.
So we're going to upgrade the wireless controller to handle all of the data going to the SAN. Because right now we're sitting on an old B controller. It can only do 50 megabits per second or whatever. It's being shared across 100 devices, and it's just horrible. We're going to upgrade the SAN to a solid-based SAN, and we're going to upgrade the wireless controller so it can handle in-level activity. We also need to get Skip's laptop updated because he's the lead sales guy, and we're going to update all the RMM on each device while we're there. So we're going to go forward. Yay, we're good. So now we have this project is set up and ready to go. So you can create a proposal off of that. We have the narrative ready. Now we create the October proposal. And I want to say, hey, this is the one place for shared files. And we say, oh, there it is. It's awesome. It's already there. It's $3,500. But we're going to rename this because it's Skip's favorite thing to do in browser proposals.
Yes.
Rename this to make college football
Yeah. It can be silly stuff sometimes.
Something stupid like this. Find whatever they care about. Maybe it's that they want to record every sales call. Fine. Make every sales call available to a team. You're going to do that. And then when you're done, you click save and share. Who are you going to share it with? You can share it just with this link here. I can put this in the chat right now. If you guys aren't in the chat, get in the chat. Where's it at? I lost my chat window, Skip. There it is.
Yeah.
There we go. So I can put it in here. You now all have the budget proposal. You can do this via QuoteWorks. You can do this via whatever. The point is, it doesn't matter what tool you're using, that you're making it personal and you're creating a journey to get your clients to buy in. You're selling the car. No, you're selling the change to your lifestyle. If I own that Honda Acura, that red one with the chrome hubcaps, I am going to be a worthwhile person. It's going to validate me. I am not a soccer mom. I'm a cool mom.
You lost me in Honda.
I am the midlife crisis guy. I'm not having a midlife crisis. I'm just driving a Tesla. And those guys are cool. And that is what you're selling. You're selling a solution that helps them improve their business or lifestyle. If I came up to any of you guys, so let's, I'm going to pick on somebody here. Mike, you're my favorite guy to pick on. I'm going to go, Mike. Hey, Mike, you know what? I can make your commute time 20 minutes less a day. Like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Now I have improved your day. How are you going to do that? I am going to put you in a slingshot and fire you to work. Okay, you know what? I have questions.
Yeah.
But you have a solution that can solve a problem for a person that makes their life better. They will buy that.
Mhm.
If you have a simple thing like I would be cool with a Honda Skip. You thought I wouldn't see that comment. So anyways, you need to sell the product you have in a way that your client cares about, and they really don't care about speeds and feeds. They care
That's
about,
exactly.
will this allow them to record college football? Sounds stupid, but in a corporate environment, that was over $100,000 that we spent in just a few days, just so they could watch the Masters tournament, people.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that, we sat there and justified the cost of an increased band pipe for months.
Yes.
Months.
Yes.
And we knew that it would happen eventually, but I mean, the number of meetings, people. But then all of a sudden, like, everybody's complaining
Yes.
they can't get online because the execs are watching the Masters tournament, because we looked at the internet pipe and go, yeah, we're going to have to go talk to the CEO. Why? Like, you're going over everybody's heads. Like, no, but he's the one taking up the pipe.
Yeah.
And then you hear the director go, yeah, we're going to have to go talk to the CEO about this,
Yeah.
of this massive company. And suddenly it was like, well, how much would it cost to fix this? It's going to cost about $100,000. Okay.
Yeah. Do it. Well, and you made an interesting point there. You can get there. You would have been able to get there, and get that pipe, but just the number of meetings, in the corporate world, the bureaucratic, red tape that you would have had to go through. If you're dealing with smaller companies, you're an MSP talking to them, it's just that, though. It's the number of meetings. Eventually, you get your clients to where they want to go, but that journey is so long, and both you and your client are missing out on so many positive things in the meantime. Why don't we fast track all of this so that you both can get the benefits of these items? So being able to tackle that, top of mind, hey, this is what we really need to work on, is what's going to make these conversations go much, much faster, be much, much more productive.
So the final thing I want to show, Rick, we're kind of running on the end of time here. I try to be respectful of you guys, is I wanted to give you a sneak peek of where this asset's going and why budgets matter. But what I'm going to show you here is really, really cool and very, very useful, but it is not strategic. And I want to be very clear about this. It is really cool, it is very useful, and it's going to help you solve things, but it is not strategic at all. So all that asset depreciation and everything that we're automatically calculating for you is going to come out in a dashboard like this. This is next week's release, or 2 weeks from now's release, depending on if the developers can get the bugs out of it. But you can now trend based upon asset type that you see in your asset. If you look at your assets, it'll automatically do this. You don't have to put anything into our platform to do this. It's automatically going to trend this for you as long as you have your assets inventory in. So over the next 2 weeks, clean up your asset inventory, get it imported, or wait for the sync button to show up and it'll just do it for you. But then you'll have this. This is not strategic. This is not a strategic QBR. This is simply a discussion point of saying, hey, you've got a pretty even spend over time here, and there's going to be an average thing here. So you can say, hey, on average, you're spending about $5,000 a month on assets. But you want to tell the story with this.
Yep.
This is operational data. What you want to do is strategically tell them, if you change this story, here's how it's going to help you. So when you go over here to the filter, you'll be able to open this up and change the lifespan of a asset and see the graph change. And while you're doing that, you want to tell the story. Hey, when you reduce the amount of time on a laptop's depreciation cycle, It's going to make your laptops more sustainable. It's going to make it so your sales guys aren't spending so much time troubleshooting on the road. It's going to reduce downtime, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to make your lives easier. You also get the advantage of always being on the latest and greatest. And your employees are going to start being more fluid in how they work. Yeah. So you want to create that narrative, but using the tool. This is just a tool. It's just data points. You have to translate this into something that your client actually cares about. And a lot of clients care about saving money. So they're going to say, just crank the depreciation all the way to the right. Okay. But that's going to increase your risk to a level that you're not going to enjoy. And now you've created a narrative, and now you're back to strategy.
So now where this fits in, so it's technical, but if you're building out those client engagement strategies, all right, and you're creating a playbook, all right, this is going to be a play in that playbook. And my big deal about having a play is we have the right conversation with the right people. And so this is a great conversation to have with the CFO. So we build out a play in our playbook and we put this on the calendar, whether it's an annual exercise or we do this monthly, quarterly, we can figure all that out, but we're going to target who we're delivering this particular engagement to. And yes, it is going to be a little different than the CEO, and where we're really looking at bigger business goals. How are we going to get there? What are we going to do? We're going to come in later and fill these out and say, hey, this is the dollars and cents that it's going to take to fulfill those higher level goals. So these all have a place to fit into the complete client conversation, the strategic conversation. It's not, strategy is not one conversation, one phone call, right? It has to be a variety of elements. And this is going to be an important part when we get into those finances elements.
Yeah, it's all about, like, whenever you see something in our software, we're just trying to help you make a conversation. And it just, where we have something come up, like I see a lot of vendors come out with really great and pretty graphs and spreadsheets. Ask yourself the question, what's the conversation with the client from this?
Yes.
What's the story? So if you look at this budget dashboard, I'm looking here and I'm thinking, okay, it looks cool. And I actually had this conversation with our developers. I said, dude, this looks cool, but it's useless. It's pretty. And so we actually removed some interesting things from here, some dotted lines, because they could do it. Didn't mean it was useful for a client conversation or creating a narrative. Yep. So if you look at our product, when we come out with features, it's all built around what is the action item for the client here. And so that's why we have simple dashboards. We have simple asset management. We have simple things because we don't want to overwhelm the client so that they buy faster. So you can spend time on the narrative and the strategy behind this rather than trying to explain to them 600 data points or a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. Anytime you have a spreadsheet up, you're losing your client unless they're the CFO.
Yep.
So that being said, that is how you do budgets. That's how you do strategic budgets. It's not what everybody wants to tell you. It's not about having more data on the screen or trending costs over time. That's a technical review. That is a financial review. That is not a strategic review. I'm telling you, as somebody who leads a company, as somebody who's been in the strategy meetings with the leaders of companies, what we care about is the narrative that you're taking us on, the hero's journey. If you don't know what a hero's journey is, Google it. And take them on that journey and make them the hero of it. And you will sell every project all the time. And it'll also help you weed out the projects that really don't matter, so you're not wasting your time on those.
Sure.
This is great. This is one of a fun topic, not my favorite topic, but it's a necessary one, and it's a hard one to have because a lot of vendors want to sell you on data points because data points are easy to create, they're easy to throw up on a screen, but they're hard to action off of. They're hard to create a narrative from. What is great to take a narrative from is, what is this going to do? How is this selling the car? How is this selling a improved business or an improved lifestyle? Speaking of which, in 27 minutes, we're having our makeup session for Vonahai, the V pen test company. This is the first of its kind that I'm aware of, where you as an MSP can offer up virtual pen testing as a service. No extra work from your standpoint. You simply charge your customer. They are about a third the cost of a regular pen test, and you charge your customer the margin difference. So let's say you're used to charging $15,000 for a pen test for your client. You're now charging $2,500 to $5,000 for the pen test. You're still charging your client $15,000, but the cost for you is a lot less,
Yep.
and your control over what gets audited is way increased. So this margin that exists in V pen test is going to thin out over the next 5 years as this thing hits the market and starts taking over.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to start doing it, and the margins get really little, just like they did with antivirus. Skip and I remember the glory days of antivirus when you could sell that stuff for $100 a seat.
Yep.
What, like $1 or free?
Yep.
So get on this bandwagon. Come to this this webinar. It's going to be fun. It's going to be like our usual humanized webinars. It'll be available on YouTube afterwards. But if you want to see it live and engage in the conversation, we will be meeting at 2 o'clock, so in 26 minutes. And you'll have a new tool for your belt, or maybe not. Maybe you'll say, hey, this is not for me. Either way, it's a humanized webinar, so we don't sell hard. We just give you information and try to teach you about a new thing in the environment.
There you go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll see you all next week for... Oh, I didn't bring up my events. Anyways, check the event calendar. You'll see what's coming up next week. Thank you, everyone, for